everyone, my name is Miss Swiss, and I'm here with Rosé the Chardonnay, and today we're here to tell you about our journey to become our true selves. We will explain to you about our journey through fermentation and the two different types of it, so let's get through it. It all started about 7 weeks ago when I was milked out of a cow and placed into a bucket, but you know the process of all that, so I'll cut to the chase of how I formed chemically. It started when there was no oxygen. The chefs were worried about what would happen to me, and I was nervous because I wasn't able to produce any ATP and go through the Krebs cycle of cellular respiration. However, I overcame all those obstacles by performing lactic acid fermentation, and this is what we'll be talking about today. As you all know, photosynthesis is performed by my good friend Gluca. Gluca is a glucose, which is a 6-carbon sugar, and he performs glycolysis. Glycolysis is the breaking down of glucose, but in lactic acid fermentation, Gluca produces 2-ATP, 2-pyruvate, and NADH to keep me going. Although we've already looked at the products, I'd like to dive down deeper into the process and give you a better understanding of what this actually means. So Gluca, along with 2 NAD pluses and 2 ADPs, turn into our products. The 2 NAD pluses turn into 2 NADHs, and our 2 ADPs turn into 2 ATPs in glycolysis. Now that we've explained the process, I'd like to introduce you all to Lacey. Lacey is a lactic acid bacteria. She helps convert lactose in milk into lactic acid. This means that she turns all the lactose in me into lactic acid to continue my fermentation. Thanks, Lacey. The longer I am left to age, the less lactose there will be due to the bacteria, since Lacey has done her job. By the time I've actually formed, hardly any lactose remains in me. After enduring this long and challenging process, I came to be formed into cheese through lactic acid fermentation, but you all know me as Miss Swiss, and this is my story. Next, we will have Rose explain her story through alcoholic fermentation.
Wow, Miss Swiss, that was such an interesting story, and I love how resilient and creative those chefs were in the presence of no available oxygen. My story is actually quite similar to yours. And I know Gluca too! It was actually just 24 hours ago that I finished fermenting myself. I was a gorgeous vine of special white grapes when I was suddenly cut from the vine. I was sealed off from all available oxygen and could no longer go and meet Gluca so we could go perform cellular respiration. The chefs were watching me, but I was so deeply confused on how I was supposed to keep growing and unlock my full potential. Gluca was heartbroken watching me struggle to grow when he came up with an idea. Normally, after photosynthesis has occurred and gluca has been produced, gluca would undergo glycolysis. However, without the presence of oxygen, gluca cannot continue into the mitochondria and produce the ATP he should. So, to survive, gluca and I need to enter alcohol fermentation. Once the chloroplast is finished with photosynthesis, gluca needs to undergo glycolysis. This is the normal equation for glycolysis, which would happen in the presence of oxygen. As we can see, 2 NAD plus is a vital component to this equation, so we can achieve 2 ATP. My best friend, Yolanda the yeast, decided to join with me on my journey. Yolanda the yeast makes time feel like it flies by since she contains the enzyme complex zymase. Yolanda, Gluca, and I began on this journey by shedding my carboxyl group for my 2 pyruvates. This produced carbon dioxide as a byproduct. All of a sudden, I made 2-acetaldehyde. This was able to be reduced by 2 NADH to become 2-ethanol, drinkable alcohol for our customers to enjoy. I continued this process all of yesterday with Yolanda and Gluca as we continually made more ATP. Although the ATP we make with this fermentation cycle is less than we would make with cellular respiration through the electron transport chain, it is still enough to get by, which is good enough for fermentation. Now that 24 hours have passed, the grapes have been fermented to the chef's liking. They decided to remove the grape skin and press them so they could be concentrated into juice, where I could then be bottled and then had for customer and chef enjoyment.